There comes a time on the twin flame journey when you stop and ask yourself, why does it feel like I'm going in circles? Why does it seem like no matter how much inner work I do, I'm still stuck? Why can't I seem to move forward? This experience is more common than you might think. So many find themselves stuck in emotional loops, repeating the same spiritual lessons, facing the same emotional triggers, longing for reunion, yet feeling miles away from it. And despite reading, meditating, healing, and releasing, there is still a lingering heaviness, a weight that won't lift. At the very heart of this cycle, this invisible wall between you and the next stage of your journey, is the wounded divine feminine. You see, the divine feminine is not just an abstract spiritual concept. She lives inside you. She is the sacred energy of intuition, love, receptivity, creation, and stillness. But when this energy is distorted or wounded, she begins to work against you instead of for you. She becomes overly attached, hyper-emotional, disconnected from her own power, overly giving, and deeply insecure. And that is the very energy that holds you back, trapping you unknowingly in a lower timeline of your twin flame experience. Today, we'll uncover how the divine feminine might be showing up in ways that are keeping her energetically stuck. Let's start. Number 1, over-identifying with the role of the chaser. One of the most painful dynamics in the twin flame journey is the runner-chaser phase. It is deeply misunderstood and often misinterpreted. Many who carry the divine feminine essence end up stuck in the role of the chaser, not because they are inherently needy or desperate, but because their inner feminine is wounded and looking for validation. This pattern doesn't start with the twin flame. It often begins much earlier in life through abandonment, emotional neglect, or inconsistent love. Somewhere along the way, you learn that love must be fought for. You learn that you have to prove your worth, that if someone leaves, it's your job to pull them back. And so when you meet your twin flame and separation begins, the wounded feminine instinctively rises, trying to chase, convince, prove, and hold on. But chasing doesn't just mean texting or calling someone repeatedly. It can be energetic too. Thinking about them obsessively, checking their social media, analyzing every word, every silence. This is all energetic chasing. It's rooted in fear. The fear of being forgotten, the fear of being unloved, the fear of losing the connection. This chasing energy is what keeps you trapped. It pushes your twin flame further away because what you're really doing is sending a signal to the universe. I am not whole without them. I need them to feel complete. The healing begins when you stop identifying with this role. You are not the chaser. You are not desperate. You are not lacking. That identity is not your truth, it's your wound. Begin observing this behavior without judgment. Notice when the urge to chase arises. Instead of feeding it, turn inward. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of right now? What part of me feels abandoned? Then comfort that part. Speak to her. Hold space for her. This subtle shift changes everything. When the divine feminine steps back into her seat of power, she stops chasing. She remembers her worth. She becomes magnetic again. And it is this magnetic energy, not pursuit, that naturally draws union closer. Number 2, suppressing your emotional needs to keep the peace. Another way the wounded divine feminine keeps you trapped is by making you believe that your emotions are a problem. You learn to silence yourself to avoid rejection. You hold back your truth because you fear being too much. You start putting your twin flame's comfort above your own emotional well-being. You think if you just stay quiet, patient, and loving, they will come back. This belief is deeply ingrained in those who carry feminine energy. It's the belief that love requires self-sacrifice, that speaking up will push them away, that holding space for someone else means abandoning your own needs. But emotional suppression does not equal divine feminine energy. It is not love. It is fear wearing the mask of patience. This dynamic traps you in a state of self-abandonment. It convinces you that spiritual maturity means silence, that detachment means disconnection, and that unconditional love means tolerating pain without boundaries. But true divine feminine energy is not silent. She is expressive. She honors her emotional landscape without guilt. She knows that her emotions are sacred messengers, not inconveniences. When you silence your pain, you block your healing. When you ignore your needs, you teach the universe that they are not important. And as a result, You attract mirrored relationships that continue to dismiss your emotions, whether it's your twin or others. To shift this, you must first recognize the difference between suppression and surrender. Surrender is releasing control. Suppression is silencing your truth. If you feel sad, allow it. If you feel hurt, validate it. If you need space, take it. If you want connection, admit it. The divine feminine does not thrive in silence. She thrives in honesty. The more you honor your own emotions, the more you teach others to honor them too. And in that space of emotional authenticity, the healing accelerates. You start attracting a different reflection, even from your twin flame. One where you are no longer playing the role of the silent, suffering lover, but stepping into the role of the sovereign feminine being who deserves to be heard, seen, and held. Number 3, misusing intuition to feed fear-based narratives. The divine feminine is deeply intuitive. She can sense, feel, and perceive energies far beyond the physical realm. But when her energy is wounded or distorted, that very intuition becomes a trap. You start mistaking fear for intuition. You convince yourself that your worst-case scenarios are downloads. You interpret delays as signs of doom. You overanalyze messages, dreams, numbers, and readings, looking for confirmation that your twin is still coming, or worse, that they've moved on for good. This is where spiritual bypassing takes root. The mind uses intuition to protect the ego. It tells you stories like, they're just scared, they'll come around soon. I know what they're feeling. I can feel their sadness, but sometimes what you're actually feeling is your own projection, your own longing, disappointment, or fear bouncing back at you. This pattern keeps you trapped because it creates a distorted reality. It stops you from seeing things clearly. You begin reacting to assumptions rather than truth. You stay emotionally attached to someone's potential instead of who they are being right now. To reclaim your intuition, you must bring it back into balance. Real intuition feels calm, not chaotic. It's gentle, not panicked. It does not scream at you. It softly nudges. If your downloads leave you feeling anxious, needy, or disempowered, it's not your intuition. It's your fear disguised as wisdom. Reground yourself. Ask your body how it feels, not your thoughts. Your body never lies. Sit in stillness. Breathe deeply. Place your hand over your heart and ask, what do I really know to be true right now? Trust the answer that feels peaceful, even if it's not what you wanted to hear. When your divine feminine energy is healed, intuition becomes a tool for liberation, not entrapment. It guides you back to your center, not away from it. And from that centered place, clarity flows again. You are no longer stuck in the noise, you are resting in knowing. Number 4, seeking completion through the twin flame. At the core of the twin flame journey lies one of the deepest illusions, the belief that your twin completes you. That until they return, something inside you is missing. This is one of the most seductive beliefs of the wounded divine feminine. She longs for reunion so deeply that she forgets her own wholeness. The belief that your twin is the missing piece of your soul creates an identity rooted in lack. It keeps you in a space of longing, waiting, and fantasizing. It blocks you from embodying your full self because your energy is always reaching outward, never fully anchoring inward. But your twin is not your completion. They are your reflection. They mirror back what you have not yet integrated. If you feel abandoned, they reflect abandonment. If you feel unworthy, they reflect rejection. If you feel broken, they mirror chaos. This is not punishment. It is sacred, but it is only sacred if you use it as a mirror, not a crutch. You are already whole. The divine feminine within you does not need a partner to activate her power. She is already radiant, magnetic, and complete. But to remember that, you must stop looking outside of yourself. You must call your power back from fantasies, from the future, from timelines that haven't arrived yet. You must come home. Completion does not come from union. It comes before it. Only when you embody your fullness can you attract a mirrored fullness in return. Otherwise, all you'll ever attract are situations that continue to reflect your longing. So begin practicing wholeness now. Wake up each morning and ask, how can I fill myself today? How can I meet my own needs? Start creating, expressing, exploring. Start building a life so full that you no longer wait for someone else to bring you joy. From that space of overflow, everything changes. Even your twin's energy begins to shift. Because you are no longer grasping, you are glowing. Number 5, Holding on to the wound of rejection. Few things cut deeper than feeling rejected by the one your soul recognizes as its other half. It activates ancient wounds, once tied not just to this life, but to soul-level memories of abandonment, betrayal, and unworthiness. And when those wounds are triggered, the divine feminine often reacts by internalizing the rejection. She starts to believe she is not enough. She wonders what she did wrong. She picks herself apart, trying to make sense of why someone who once saw her so deeply could now feel so distant. This is the trap. The wounded feminine confuses rejection with truth. She uses it as evidence of her flaws. And then, without realizing it, she begins to operate from that story, making decisions through the lens of pain instead of power. But here's what must be understood. Rejection on the twin flame journey is not always personal. It is energetic. It reflects the mismatch of frequencies, the places where inner union has not yet occurred. Often, when your twin flame pulls away, it's not a rejection of you, but a reflection of what still needs to be healed on both sides. It's a sacred pause, a call inward. Yet when the divine feminine is wounded, she turns that pause into a punishment. She replays conversations, fixates on their absence, and uses silence as confirmation that she's been abandoned. This emotional spiral creates an energy of victimhood, and that vibration is heavy. It pulls her into lower timelines where progress feels impossible and clarity becomes cloudy. To break free, you must stop interpreting silence as shame. Stop seeing distance as a verdict. Start seeing rejection as redirection toward yourself. Your soul is not trying to punish you. It's trying to call you home. Every time you feel rejected, it's an invitation to reclaim a lost part of you, the part that needed someone else to choose you before you could choose yourself. Begin showing up for that part. When the sadness rises, sit with it, not as a victim, but as a mother would with her child. When your mind spirals, redirect it gently. Speak truth into the pain. I am not less because they cannot see me clearly. I am still worthy. I am still enough. This is how the divine feminine transforms. She stops looking for confirmation from the outside and starts building it from the inside. She sees rejection not as evidence of unworthiness, but as a guidepost leading her back to unconditional self-love. And in doing so, she dissolves the illusion that she was ever abandoned to begin with. Number 6, overgiving in order to be chosen. One of the most heartbreaking patterns that the wounded divine feminine carries is the tendency to overgive. She gives her energy, her love, her time, her loyalty, even when it's not reciprocated. She gives not just from the heart, but from a subtle hope. If I love enough, they'll choose me. If I stay kind, they'll come back. If I prove how good I am, they'll finally see me. But giving with the hope of being chosen is not real giving. It's bargaining. It is rooted in an old belief that love must be earned, that worth must be proven, that self-sacrifice is the only path to connection. This dynamic creates a loop. You give, you wait. You're not met with the same energy. You feel depleted. But instead of stepping back, you give even more. And slowly you begin to shrink. Your boundaries fade, your needs vanish. You forget yourself trying to be what someone else might finally value. But the truth is, genuine love cannot be manipulated into being. It cannot be coaxed through effort. The divine feminine was never meant to beg for affection. She was meant to embody it. And when she is truly in her power, she gives from overflow, not from hope. She offers her love freely, but she also knows when to pull back. She honors her energy. She does not pour into cups that refuse to hold her. If this is a pattern you recognize in yourself, it's time to rewire the script. Ask yourself, why am I really giving right now? Is it love or fear? Is it generosity or insecurity? You deserve relationships that reciprocate, not just tolerate. You deserve to receive without having to constantly prove your worth. Start pouring into your own cup first. Give to yourself what you're trying to earn from others. Speak words of love to your body. Nourish your nervous system. Protect your peace. Invest in your growth. And slowly, the compulsion to overgive will fade, because you will no longer feel that emptiness that once demanded to be filled by someone else's approval. The healed divine feminine knows she is already chosen by her soul, by the universe, by the very breath that brought her into this life. And from that knowing, she gives without losing. She loves without needing. She stays open without collapsing. That is the love that attracts, not by force, but by frequency. Number 7. Waiting instead of living. Perhaps the most subtle and yet most damaging trap on the twin flame path is the one where life goes on pause. You wait. You wait for the message. You wait for the return. You wait for the reunion. Days, months, sometimes years pass, and in that waiting, your light begins to dim. This isn't because you're weak or unmotivated. It's because the wounded divine feminine has attached her joy, her purpose, her expansion to an outcome that hasn't yet arrived. She believes that life can truly begin only when union occurs. And so she waits, not passively, but energetically. She withholds her dreams, her voice, her full presence from the world, holding back in case they come back. But this form of waiting is a slow kind of death. It robs you of the richness that this moment is offering. It places your happiness on layaway, and that delay keeps you stuck in a loop of lack. The irony is this: the very union you desire cannot come while you are waiting for it, because waiting implies absence, and absence attracts more of itself. Twin flame union is a frequency, a vibration of wholeness, presence, and sovereignty. It cannot arrive where life is not fully being lived. The divine feminine must rise out of waiting and into living. That does not mean giving up on your twin. It means returning to yourself. It means stepping into the life you've been postponing. It means finally doing the things you said you'd do once you felt loved again. Start small. Rekindle your passions. Meet new people. Move your body. Laugh, travel, learn, create. Let your soul experience the vastness of life again. Not as a distraction, but as a reclamation, because when you choose life, life chooses you back. And in that energy of aliveness, everything shifts. Sometimes it's the moment you stop waiting that your twin feels your release and begins their own awakening. But even if they don't, you have still won, because you have returned to your power. You have become the embodiment of love, not the seeker of it. And from that space, you are no longer trapped. You are free. The divine feminine is the sacred force of creation itself. She is not meant to be buried under wounds, fears, or unworthiness. She is meant to rise, to awaken, to return to her true essence. But rising doesn't happen overnight. It happens through these small awakenings, through these moments where you finally say, I deserve more than this loop. I choose myself. Every time you reclaim a piece of your power, your divine feminine heals. Every time you break a pattern, your timeline shifts. Every time you love yourself more deeply, the entire journey begins to align with your soul's truth. You were never meant to stay stuck. You were never meant to suffer in cycles of pain. You are not here to chase, to wait, to shrink, or to beg. You are here to remember who you are, to rise as the love you've been waiting for. And from that space of radiance, everything meant for you will unfold, not because you chased it, but because you became it. So if you felt trapped on this journey, I want you to know, this is not the end. It's a turning point. And the key to unlocking it has always lived within you, in your divine feminine. Now it's time to turn the key. Step out of the waiting, step out of the wound, and rise. Because your soul is not here to beg for love, it's here to become it. And you, beloved, are already on your way.